Shopify is a global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business and sell more with less effort thanks to the Shopify Magic, your AI-powered all-star. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/redcircle, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/redcircle now to grow your business no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/redcircle.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of True Crime Time for Monday, April the 7th of 2025, and I'm Woody Overton.
I'm Cyndi Overton.
We're ready to roll with some True Crime Time, right? Hey, first of all, couple quick announcements. So tomorrow, around 5 o'clock p.m., I think we'd put 6 o'clock in the ads, but 5 o'clock p.m., I'll be at Walk-On's Restaurant Bistro in Zachary, Louisiana. Guest bartending with my good buddy, Kevin Kool-Aid Gehrig. And all the tips that you give us, I can pour beer. And all the tips that I know Kevin can too. All the tips that you give us are going to LOPA, the Louisiana Organ Procurement Agency. We haven't done anything for LOPA in a while because we hadn't had any live shows. But, it's my jam. They're a nonprofit and they save lives every day. So, and I think a LOPA representative will be there soon.
Lori Still will.
Lori Still's going to be there? Really? So Lori's their top dog will be there. And she can talk to y'all if you have any questions. There's a lot of misnomers and stuff about organ donation that are just false. And it's a wonderful thing. And I'm glad Lori's going to be there. We'll all be there at least like 5 to 9 when they close. Hey, if you haven't been to Walk-On's years ago, it was voted the #1 sports bar in the United States of America by ESPN. Mm-hmm. And they're all consistent. They're all over the country now. They provide great Louisiana food, great drinks, great service. At one time, our oldest daughter worked at Walk-On's. Yeah. And they used to, when they first started Walk-On's, they used to lease my daddy's buildings downtown in downtown Baton Rouge. But great organization. And Kevin Kool-Aid Gehrig and I went to the academy together. Just a good dude. He just got more murder convictions last week in a murder trial, a double life conviction. And he's got the serial killer Ryan Sharp's case this week that's being retried all this weekend. It's going to be a slam dunk. He turned out to be a hell of a cop. He was the youngest guy in our academy. Great dude. And from Norwood, Louisiana, where Real Life Real Crime headquarters is. Yeah. But anyway, so y'all come see us at Walk-On's in Zachary on Tuesday, April 8th from 5 to 9. Taking pictures, signing autographs, pour you a beer, drink a beer, whatever. Lots of great food if you've never been there. It's not a bar room. I mean, they have a bar section, but you can bring your family, bring your kids, bring whoever you want. And thank you to Walk-On's and Matt, the manager, for hosting that. Now, real quick, because we did the call to action for justice, #justice for Haley, and it's very important that everyone email and call. I would start with the district attorney's office and the news channels, but Cyndi has put together all the links and everything for it. And a lot of you lifers are already posting all the emails and everything that you sent, the phone calls that you made. Please continue to do that because it gets other people, motivates them to do it. We want Haley's case to go before the grand jury. So, if you're so inclined, and even if you don't want to take the time to type out your own stuff, go into our social media, like in the Real Life Real Crime Community app, and people have posted generic forms.
There's 2 forms attached to my contact hub, which is in the show notes too.
Well, there you go. And if you don't want to send your own, you can sign your name and send those. And y'all, let's do it. This is our chance. I know they're getting hammered with phone calls and emails. Well, you know what? That's the way it should be.
And what a better week we could have chosen to do this. It's National Crime Victims Week this
really?
week.
Well, there you go. So perfect. And I know that you talked to one of the news stations already, and that's the main thing. Just get them to take Haley's case before the grand jury. All right. But we got some different things for y'all today. And I know Cindy's got some updates on some stories, and then I got some really crazy shit to tell you about too. But don't forget about our live show Saturday, July 19th, Southeastern Louisiana University in Hammond, Louisiana. Woody Overton taking the stage doing an original real life, real crime live. And then we got the VIP event afterwards. Easy links for the tickets, bit.ly/RLRC VIP or bit.ly/RLRC GENERAL. So it's bit.ly/RLRC VIP or bit.ly/RRC General. Get your tickets. And the Home to Suites by Hilton, a brand new property in Hammond, is a discounted block of rooms for us. So of course it's in the show notes and everywhere else, but get your rooms. Look, we got people lifers coming from all over the country and a shit ton from Louisiana. Very appreciative of it. And I don't even know where the ticket sales are at right now. Get them while they last. Okay. And let's get on some true crime time for April.
National Beer Day.
Is it really? Holy shit. Let's get down to some true crime time for National Beer Day. There you go, right? Thursday, Monday. And so, Cindy, you want to lay some knowledge from the college on us?
I do. I'm going against the grain a little bit. I'm going to tell a story that I actually was informed about this last weekend, and it just really killed me. And I think we're going to do something about this.
All right.
Okay. I'm kind of springing this on you without.
Yes, you are.
But there was a nanny arrested for a baby's murder in Airway Heights.
Okay.
This sweet young family had a 2-year-old son, and they then had a newborn baby. They both worked, and they wanted to have someone come into their home every day, have a private nanny babysitter for them.
If you can afford it.
Right. If you can afford it. They went through all of the proper channels to, make sure that they hired a really good person, and they ended up hiring a 59-year-old woman. They thought, well, it's like a grandma, what better care are we going to get? Well, on,
Sister calls herself a sexy grandma.
Holy crap. So, on November 2nd, the police responded to a call of an unconscious baby.
I hate those calls.
And the nanny.
There is a no fucking win situation, even if it's a natural cause.
Right. And the baby was only 5 months old.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the nanny says that the 2-year-old, right before nap time, the 2-year-old took his bike and threw it at the baby. And
is he fucking Superman?
exactly.
Yeah.
And the cops looked at it and was like, there's no way that a 2-year-old child could do.
I'm pretty sure
that.
Another 2-year-old child could have made that assertion.
So the 59-year-old watcher, her last name is Arger, and she told the grandmother of the boys that, he threw that bike, and that she put the baby in his crib for a nap, and she checked on him later and he was unconscious, and that's when she called 911.
Reminds me of some stories.
But when the police officers got there, they had several bruises. There was abrasions on him, consistent with a blow to his head. His brain was bleeding, and there were 6 fractured ribs.
Poor baby.
And it appeared that their ribs had been broken for 7 to 10 days. And so that.
Jesus, can you imagine being a 2-year-old? I mean, look,
5-month-old.
I've had 5-month-old. I've had cracked ribs, and that is one of the most painful. All the injuries I've sustained, and I've sustained a lot. Cracked ribs suck every time you breathe.
Yeah. So one of the doctors said that his injuries were equivalent to being thrown from a horse.
Fuck.
So this woman has now been arrested and booked for second-degree murder. She's already placed bond, and we're just kind of waiting for like how this plays out. But it's just such a sad.
That lady, that's a series of ongoing abuse and torture of that little kid. And that motherfucker needs to be killed.
Yeah. And to make it, I mean, the whole thing is horrible, but the poor baby lived on life support for 6 days. I know.
I hope maybe, I don't know how young is too young to be an organ donor. I mean, I guess, I don't know. Who knows? I don't know. On a different note, I also have an update. You were supposed to do updates today, but I got updates. I got an update on Shabizzness.
Ooh.
Shabizzness, if you've been ever listening to Real Life, Real Crime, you would know about Taylor Shabusiness. Now, who has a fucking last name Shabizzness? So Taylor, or Shabizzness, she's from Wisconsin, and way back when she had a lover, they did a little meth together. I'm catching people up on the story in case they don't know. They did a little meth together, and then she decided to cut his head off. Okay. So she did it. Yeah. But she did it during sex. And meth is all about sex. So back the original case, she told the detectives that in Green Bay that she was engaged in a sexual intercourse after taking meth, and she turned violent and she began to choke her lover. Once he was dead, it's a gift that keeps being Shabizzness, the gift that keeps on giving. After the dude's dead, she sexually assaults him. His name is Thyrion, and then mutilated him and chopped up his body with a bread knife. And she wasn't too smart, because the dude's mom comes home later on and finds him where? Well, she finds his head and his penis in a bucket, right? So you remember that.
Of course.
So, and she, you know what? In her original trial, she didn't deny the charges against her, but she didn't take the stand in her defense. And of course, she tried to use the whole mental disease, being crazy. No, being crazy. Okay. She is a little crazy. So back then, during that process, Shabizzness was in court one day, and this made national headlines, and she's just standing there. Now, if you're on a first name basis with the COs, the correctional officers, it's never good. But you're right in the middle of the court, she just turns and starts to beat the shit out of her attorney. And they were like, Shabizzness, stop. Or Taylor, whatever the fuck her first name is. And they had to get on her and get off. And she gave him a pretty good whooping. So, but that's not all. And since she's been in jail, in July of 2024, she went to see the nurse in the prison, and because she was having a staple removed from her arm. God only knows how she got cut or whatever. We don't know that. And the nurse was taking a staple out. Well, most prisons, you try to de-weaponize the room like child-proofing a house. Well, they did not pick up a metal tray that was in there. And Shabizzness picks up the metal tray. And women, have you ever had one of those days where everything just feels off? Like you're stuck in the middle of a mystery and you can't solve it? Your energy's crashing, your mood's swinging like a suspect in an interrogation room. And no matter what you do, nothing adds up. Well, Cyndi has been there, and sometimes the real culprit is hiding in the shadows, is hormonal imbalance. Here's a twist. More than 1,000 hormone disruptors are living rent-free in our world, lurking in our food, our air, even our skincare. And when hormones go haywire, it can feel like you're trapped in your own personal true crime story, especially during premenopause or menopause. But here's the good news. This is the one case you can crack with Hormone Harmony by Happy Mammoth. All you need to do is take their free 2-minute quiz. You'll answer a few simple questions. Just like that, you'll get a personalized recommendation to help bring your hormones back into balance. No long investigation required. What I love is that Hormone Harmony is made with adaptogens, natural science-backed herbal extracts that help your body adapt to stress and hormonal changes, whether it's PMS, hot flashes, brain fog, or sleepless nights. This product is designed to help you feel like you again. Over 40,000 glowing reviews don't lie, and neither do the results. 86% of women say they started losing weight. 77% say their mood improved. And the biggest win, 100% say they feel like themselves again. For a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use the code RLRC at checkout. That's happymammoth.com, code RLRC for 15% off today. Did you know there's an online cannabis company that ships federally legal THC right to your door? And they found a way to combine THC with carefully selected functional ingredients to target nearly every mood and health concern you can think of. I'm talking about Mood.com's incredible line of functional gummies. And you can get 20% off your first order at Mood.com with promo code RLRC. Forget one-size-fits-all supplements that only get you high. Mood's functional gummies are optimized to kick in as little as 15 minutes and take you to the mood that you're looking for. Whether that's Mind Magic gummies for deep work and creativity, PMS support to ease cramps and balance mood swings, or their sexual euphoria gummies to help you feel ready for action and turn every touch into a full body experience. Look, y'all, you know I have trouble sleeping. I take the Sleepy Time gummy. I take a quarter of one before I go to sleep, and I sleep hard all night long. Never even move, wake up feeling fresh as a daisy. So listen, you can find gummies to just get you high pretty much anywhere these days. But Mood's functional gummies combine premium federal legal THC with targeted botanicals to help you get into that perfect mood, usually in as little as 15 minutes. And everything ships discreetly right to your door. No dispensary lines, no awkward conversations, just better days and nights delivered to your doorstep. Best of all, not only is every Mood product backed by a 100-day satisfaction guarantee, but as I mentioned, listeners get 20% off their first order with code RLRC. So head to Mood.com, find the functional gummy that matches exactly what you're looking for, and let Mood help you discover your perfect mood. And don't forget to use promo code RLRC when you check out to save 20% on your first order. Beats the nurse with it.
Okay.
Okay? Because, I mean, she's Shabizzness, right? What else should they do? But she didn't deny it. Cops have to come in, and it's a street charge, right? And she tells the cops that when the nurse was taken out, she said, "Oh, I just jumped due to pain of the Twizzlers being used to extract the staple." But I can't remember anything after that. So, but that's not the end of it. So she goes to court on this charge. All right. And this past Friday, and she arrived wearing her hair half up in pigtails, and they called court to order, and she's been sitting there for only a couple minutes. And then, court's rolling on, and she's sitting there by her attorney, and Schabusiness does what Schabusiness does. She got up for the business. She jumps up and starts screaming something that's indecipherable, something they couldn't even understand. And she charged her attorney, another attorney. Naturally, nobody wants to represent this crazy motherfucker, right? So this was actually aired on Court TV, and this is not being her first rodeo. No. You would think the COs are watching her, but it just comes out of nowhere. She's sitting there quiet, little pigtails in her hair. She jumps up and attacks her attorney. And of course, the correctional officers tackle her and take her down. 5 of them. It took 5 of them to take her down. Yeah. And the judge calls for a recess. And when they get back in the courtroom, there's no Shabizzness. Actually, there was Shabizzness, but she was on TV.
Yeah, I was going to say, why don't they just make her report by Zoom?
Yeah. Anyway, for all you Shabizzness lovers, and there's your update on her. She's still giving out the business.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got to have it. So they're Shabizzness. I guarantee you the next motherfucker, they probably have her. The other thing, that belt, and nobody knows about it. Now, see, this isn't trial where she has to be dressed in street clothes. She's in for like a motions hearing on beating a nurse with a metal tray. But they have a belt that they wrap around your waist and you handcuff to it, and it's a shock belt.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, this motherfucker, it's like wearing a giant taser.
Ooh.
And so if you get out of line, the deputy could just sit there in the corner and watch you. Just even start, they just hit a button.
Jeez Louise.
Wisconsin, you need to get that belt for Shabizzness next time she goes. But let her go. Don't put her on TV. Let her go, because we know she's going to attack the next attorney again too. And when she does it, show the whole world how electricity works. I feel like Shabizzness, how you? All right, lay something else.
Electricity works. All right. Well, you remember the teacher Christina Formella, who was arrested for having sex with a
kid? Yeah.
And she was basically like a special ed substitute teacher. Mm-hmm. She had been a teacher previously, but she was a special ed substitute teacher. She was also a soccer coach.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Downers Grove, Illinois. Tell us what happened.
The police arrested her at a traffic stop with her husband, and she got out of the car and they were like, "You're going to do this alone." And she starts saying how sick she is because she's got to go do it without her husband. She doesn't understand why she's even in the car. Like, all of this is going on. Like, she's acting just so
she's
stupid.
Sick 'cause she got fucking busted.
Right.
And she knew she was going to be busted.
So she's accused of having disturbing content that police actually found on her notes in her notes app. She was taking notes about her relationship with these students. Mm-hmm. So she's been sexually abusing a student. So on March 15th of 2025, a mom found messages on her son's phone between Christina and her son, and she reported it. And then on the 16th, the woman was arrested, like I said, during that traffic stop, and she was taken into custody. Body cam footage shows her exiting her husband's car and being handcuffed. But while in the back of the police car, she asked the officers if she was in trouble. And,
am I in trouble?
Yeah. And
am I in trouble? That says called, I ain't going to tell you what I did, but I know what I did. And I'm praying to God that you didn't find out what I did.
And so she, started hugging her knees, and I'm assuming you're hugging your knees and you're rocking back and forth. And she's like, "I don't know what I did wrong. I'm going to throw up."
Yeah.
She then told officers that the abuse, she admits that the abuse started a year and a half ago, but it's not abuse, that the student was taking her phone and adding notes, like getting her phone, putting stuff in her notes app, making it look like they had something going on.
Right.
Like, "Hey, baby, it was really good this morning. It's okay that it was short. We'll make it up later." Like, all this stuff.
Yeah,
so she was saying he hijacked her phone, put it in there, and then texted it to himself and used it as blackmail.
Let me read one of the quotes that you're talking about.
Okay.
It actually says, quotations, "I love you so much, baby, ... Even though this morning was short, it was perfect."
Yes.
So she got a quickie.
Yeah.
From a 15-year-old student.
But she's saying the student wrote that.
Yeah, I understand that, but I'm saying but we all know she's full of shit.
Yeah. So it's just disgusting.
But she said that he saved the text on his phone as blackmail.
Yeah.
What's she blackmailing for? Some pussy? Pardon my French. So some pee? What is a 15-year-old going to blackmail you for? A better grade in soccer? She was a soccer coach too.
And so she then is in her notes, and she's making notes about her feelings about this. Mm-hmm. And she's like, "We will never be together again. I'm not a second choice. I'm the best thing you'll ever have, even with all of my mistakes."
Yeah,
like
they said that also in the notes of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
She started out in the notes and showing anger and said that he had cheated on her and called him disgusting.
Yeah.
And then she goes on to, "We will never be, together again. And I'm not a second choice. I'm the best thing you'll ever have with all my mistakes." Fucking, it's a 15-year-old.
I know.
How does he cheat on you?
I don't
Rape
know.
is bad.
So she claimed that the notes were for her anxiety. That's the way she would go get through all of her.
Well, you're right. And so, and then also a section titled Manifestations, which she wrote that the victim would contact her soon to try to fix things between them. And in the meantime, I'm going to live my best life knowing he's not the person I thought he was and that he is beneath me. So she's writing this down to manifest it to come out. As I always say, as you think, so shall you be.
Yeah.
And when the cops asked her about that, she said that, that's what she said. Oh, I just do that for my anxiety. And as anything I said about sex, it was about my husband.
Yeah.
Do you know she married her husband in Italy?
No.
In 2024.
No.
So
I thought, and maybe it's another case, you can correct me. I thought that I read that the husband said, stay away from my wife until you are at least 16 years old. Is this that case?
No, this is not.
Okay.
Definitely not the same case.
Okay.
But it's disturbing nonetheless. And we'll just put that under. It's time for Effed Up Professionals. All right. Well, there you have it. And y'all, one story that I've never touched is this whole P. Diddy or Combs or Sean Combs Diddy or whatever the fuck this guy is. I don't know any of his music. I know he's very famous and I know he's supposed to be doing. The only reason I'm touching on this is because what we're about to get into, which is telling human trafficking stories on Fridays until we get the next hashtag Justice for. But is that what they call him? P. Diddy?
P. Diddy.
What does the P stand for?
I don't know, but he's had several names over the years. Diddy, P. Diddy, Puff Daddy.
Wasn't he a homie with Biggie Smalls?
I think
and
so.
And Tupac and them?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, evidently he's rich as fuck and it's a big ongoing deal. I mean, it's just like supposedly he had all these sex parties with all these famous people and they rape people and shit like that, right?
Yeah.
And the human trafficking and all that. Well, so this dude's been in jail for God knows how long and Lord knows the story's been overdone. Everybody in the world, wants a piece of the Diddy pie. But what I found interesting, and we're going to mention it. First of all, he's my age.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the sex trafficking, this is what we're talking about. And y'all stay tuned. Starting on Fridays real soon. We're going to have a sex trafficking victim in and how she's turned her life around and how she's helping other people. And then we're going to have different people tell their sex trafficking stories and what happened to them. Cause I think it's a very important deal and it's so more readily happening now with the internet and everything else. But so everybody knows P. Diddy is in a world of shit. He's been in jail waiting on his trial on the sex trafficking case on May the 5th. And if you want to listen to it, there's podcasts like Jim Chapman does something P. Diddy. I don't know what, Exposed. There's a million other ones, right? So this dude's sitting in a jail cell and evidently, according to all the stories that come out in the last year or two, or however long it's been, he fucked everything in the world but me of it. But he's waiting in jail, getting ready to go to trial, and guess what happens? He catches 5 more criminal charges related to the federal sex trafficking case.
I believe it.
5 more.
Mm-hmm.
And so this new indictment was made public by federal prosecutors in New York on Friday, April the 4th, include 1 more count each of sex trafficking and transportation to engage in prostitution. And the new charges are related to a second victim. And Combs, who's 55, was previously charged with 3 counts, including sex trafficking, racketeering. So the racketeering is part of the RICO statute, racketeering, influence in corp organizations. So they can show if it was an ongoing deal, they can get you for all the shit. And it makes it feds. The feds brought it out for the mafia way back when because they could never get them on everything at one time. But racketeering and transportation to engage in prostitution. And that was filed in September of 2024. Now, the indictment centers around freak-offs. You ever heard that?
Mm-mm.
Well, me either. Freak-offs, and which prosecutors say is an elaborate and produced sex performances that, let's say, this disgraced music mogul got other people to partake in.
Jeez.
Freak-offs. So the indictment says that Combs and his associates would lure people under the pretense of a romantic relationship before he would use force, threats, and force and coercion in order to get them to participate in the freak-offs, right? So the new count of sex trafficking by force, fraud, and coercion says that Combs recruited, enticed, harbored, transported, provided, obtained, advertised, maintained, patronized, solicited, and attempted, aided, and abetted, and willfully caused the victim to engage. That's the most, I don't even know if this is adjective or adverse. That's the most I've ever said in one sentence in my life. But he got him to engage in commercial sex acts, knowing and in reckless disregard of the fact that the victim was engaging in commercial sex acts as a result of force, fraud, and coercion. And it just gets a little deeper. So the additional count of transportation and engaged in prostitution is tied to allegations brought by victim 2. The previous sex trafficking and transportation and engaged in prostitution counts were in connections to allegations from victim 1. However, the racketeering case remains in the same in the new superseding indictment. They said, these are not new allegations or new accusers. They're the same individuals, former longtime girlfriends who were involved in consensual relationship. This is according to Combs' attorneys, right? P. Diddy said this was their private sex life, but it's defined by consent, not coercion. Yeah. That's why everybody in the world is covering it, right?
Yeah.
And, of course, Combs is locked up in Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center and is going to trial on May the 5th, Miss Barbara Blunt's murderversary date. And, of course, I think this is one of the big things, the catches is what I always says, sex, murder, and rock and roll, right? Well, this has got the rock and roll or just rap and the sex. And now he's got 1 million lawsuits against him on the civil side, right? And evidently, homie's got a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
that's all you're going to ever hear from us about Sean Diddy Combs. But I didn't know so much because I never even read not one article on this cat. And I didn't know there's so much on the sex trafficking part. Like they would have whole parties, and sex trafficking, y'all, is not just flying somebody in from Vietnam against their will. It could be somebody let's say I could get the girl who works at Walmart, coerce her over and then sell her to you sexually. And that's sex trafficking.
Yeah.
It's not
drug her.
It's not the concept I have in my mind of sex trafficking is like, oh, you're hauling them from city to city, pimping them out, stuff like that. No, it's period.
Yeah.
You move them from one point to another, kind of like dope dealers.
Yeah.
The dope dealers pick up dope, they move it to another place where the dope sold was from the person that's using the dope or to another dope dealer. But you get caught during that. It's trafficking. Yeah. Narcotics trafficking, sex trafficking. Yeah. P. Diddy in a world of shit.
Yeah. Well, guess who else as a star is in a world of shit?
Shabizzness?
No, with sex trafficking.
Schabusiness, sex traffic.
Well, she trafficked a head to a bucket.
And a penis.
And a penis.
And some balls.
And some balls.
Because I said, do you ever see that video where the cop walks in with a rookie cop? He's training him, and they're looking around the house, and they look in the bucket, and he said, "Yeah, that's a head in a bucket. Yeah, that's a dick in a bucket."
That's funny. That's somebody.
Yeah, his body camera. I know it's not funny, but Shabizzness be given the business. But who else? Tell.
I always thought really highly of this person. I was very shocked when.
Rest in peace, Val Kilmer.
Yes, that's. There's been a lot of
Iceman.
I know. Well, I always thought very highly. This person always for some reason, like.
Thank you, baby. I appreciate it.
He kind of was intriguing. I don't know. I mean, I never liked him. I never thought he was attractive in any way, shape, or form. But I'm talking about Jean-Claude Van Damme.
I'm not jealous.
You're the most handsome man on this earth.
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah,
back in the day,
he was a badass.
man, on VHS tape that we used to, every time Bloodsport or one of his new movies came out, me and my buddies, I was in high school. You're talking about most people wouldn't even know who he is. But he was, back then, he was like the world's leading kickboxer.
Yes.
This was before MMA.
Yeah.
In Bloodsport and all these different movies that he did. He's a fucking horrible actor. But this dude could take 2 chairs and spread them apart the length of his legs and squat down even.
Split.
Yeah. Split down, but not split on the floor.
No.
Hold himself up with his legs. He was, he was a bad motherfucker.
He was.
You don't mess with him, but he's the worst actor in the world.
Well, yeah, but he's still a bad actor, or he's a bad something.
What did he do?
Well, at Cannes, the big festival.
Yes.
Okay.
Cannes,
It's called Cannes. Cannes.
I call it Cannes.
It's Cannes.
The French Film Festival. How about that?
Okay. Yes.
Cannes.
He had 5 Romanian women.
Cannes. Cannes.
Cannes. Cannes. Look it up. Ask Siri.
Siri, how do you say Cannes, the French Film Festival?
That's
in French. Cannes. Escroquerie.
Say Cannes. How do you pronounce?
Siri, how do you pronounce Cannes, the French Film Festival?
In French, Cannes, the French Film Festival is
Cannes, le Festival du Film Français.
Cannes. It's Cannes. Look, you want me to look it up?
No, I don't. Hey, this is a husband and wife thing, y'all. We're just playing.
I literally looked it up.
I didn't know Siri could talk French.
Yeah, you can. So anyway, the Directorate for Investigating
Siri, how do y'all say Woody is always right in French?
In French, Woody is always right is
Woody a toujours raison.
She's so pissed at me. All right, I'll be quiet.
He received 5 Romanian women as a gift.
Well, that's the
knowing
gift
that they were trafficked women.
That's the gift that keeps on giving, Clark, all year long.
So
that's fucked up.
Yeah.
But these are allegations, right?
He admits to having the women. He's just alleging, I guess, that he did not.
That he's a star and they want to be with him.
Right. He thinks that they gave themselves to him.
But tell us about how they're saying he didn't.
Okay. So incident took place in Cannes and he's being accused of having received 5 Romanian women as a gift with prior knowledge.
In one night?
Came from a gift from traffickers. And the attorney who represents one of the victims, they're trafficked. I'm asking this really. Mm-hmm. They're trafficked women. How does one get an attorney?
I would figure that I'm just guessing and I don't like to guess, but I would figure that one of these women that somebody dropped off as a gift, right?
Yeah.
Jean-Claude Van Damme is, and as whether it's rape or sex or whatever, afterwards they're like, fuck you. I'm going to get some of that money. I'm going to get me an attorney. The attorney says she was brought there by Joe Blow. He paid for it or whatever. Even if he didn't pay for it, and the guy, he could have paid for it another way. The guy could have gone and sang happy birthday at their kid's birthday party or something.
Yeah.
It didn't have to be money.
Yeah.
And maybe he got an acting job. I don't know fucking know.
Yeah. He says that the attorney for one of the women says that they were in a state of vulnerability with a suspicion that they were exploited within the meaning of Article 182 of the Criminal Code. And so isn't 182 where you know of criminal acts happening, but you're still...
But baby, you're talking about like French codes.
Okay.
I have no idea. 187 is common for murder in most states, but not Louisiana.
182. If I said 187, I meant 182.
No, you said 182. Okay. I have no idea outside of Louisiana law.
Okay. So one of the women that witnessed the incident said that it occurred at an organized event by Van Damme at Cannes. And
so he had a sex party.
That's what it sounds like.
Was P. Diddy there?
Probably so. Well, he was in jail, but maybe one of his representatives.
Yeah, right. Maybe P. Diddy.
So she witnessed this. She then shared what happened as well at this sex party that Van Damme gave. And then several Romanians are being investigated for forming a criminal group and pimping.
Right. You don't want to fuck with them dudes.
And offering, Jean-Claude Van Damme 5 Romanian women, and they had photos, their photo models that they were, that were given. And they were given to him for sexual relations. The person that received those benefits knew their condition. It's just so sad to see that.
First of all, at the end of the Cold War, one of the things that happened is like when Prohibition happened in the United States, gangsters came to rise, right? Mm-hmm. And because alcohol sales and moonshine or rum runners or whoever it was, they're bringing it in. Al Capone and all the big gangsters bought them. Lucky Luciano, all them, they bought the alcohol and they sold it in the speakeasies, and then they had prostitution and all that. So they really gave rise to the criminal organizations that Prohibition did. And after Prohibition ended, all they did was swap to using the same routes to run drugs and prostitutes and gambling and stuff like that. But when the Cold War ended, holy fuck, I'm not saying Romanians and Russians and all these people are bad people, because they're not. Every country has them. Mm-hmm. But their gangs really came to prominence. Mm-hmm. Like fucking, their countries are starving and shit, and they used to be world powers, and now they're making their bucks any way they know how. But they say they're some of the most ruthless killers, and of course, people in Europe do drugs too. Yeah. And people in Europe have sex too. Yeah. But let's talk about it for a second. I'm going to make it clear, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong or whatever, but there's a difference between sex trafficking and a female who engages in prostitution by her own choice. Yeah. And I mean, it's the oldest profession in the world, mm-hmm. right? And I've known many prostitutes that were my confidential informants, et cetera, who did not have pimps. I'm talking about girls that were independent and were confidential informants and whatever. And they're just like, this is what I do, mm-hmm. right? No pimp involved. Right. But we're talking about sex trafficking. These girls alleged, the 5 girls or whatever, and the ones that P. Diddy had come and whatever, they had somebody that was controlling them. Yeah. They forced them to go do this. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's probably one of the most degrading things that could happen to a person. Yeah. Especially even if you were already a sex worker, if that was your field of choice, mm-hmm. and some pimp comes along and gets control of you and then starts forcing you and taking your money, bad. Yeah. I think pimping is bad.
I think pimping is bad too.
Sex trafficking. I don't think you can have sex trafficking without having a pimp.
No, that's what I was going to say. I know this sounds
so pimp being used loosely as a term, somebody that controls
a manager of sorts,
whether it's male or female, that controls this person and brings them from location A to B. That person, the sex worker goes in and has sex for money, and that person gets a cut off of it. Yeah. That to me would be sex trafficking.
And that's a world that I don't know anything about, but that's what I was thinking if that was my field of profession.
Thank you for not telling our secrets.
That with this day and age, I would if I had a pimp that would protect me and take me from point A to point B and make sure that I got out of there alive, it might be worth a cut of money. But then that's a slippery slope. I'm just looking at it from I don't know. It sounds stupid.
But you know what? You're going to know real soon, because on Real Life, Real Crime, we have a special lady that's coming on, and she knows firsthand sex trafficking, got out of it, and it's Dixon Mafia related. That's a whole different can of worms that we're going to be opening. And then, but she's very successful now and helps other people that are victims of sex trafficking.
Yeah.
Look, fuck you down and out. And let's say you got a kid you got to feed, and you can't pay your light bill, and you can't put food on the table, and
that's real stuff.
As people go out and do it, and of course, 99% of us behind drug addiction, but certain people are vulnerable and susceptible to this. And going on the record, public service number 157, sex trafficking is bad, and we're about to put a big fucking spotlight on your ass and take it up as a cause besides LOPA, right?
Yeah.
So that's it for Beer Day.
National Beer Day.
National Beer Day.
And National.
Why? If I'd have known that, I wouldn't have worked today. You got to give beer its due. Actually, I think I'm going to give beer its due.
Oh my gosh.
So Beer Day, and I'm going to raise a beer for all you lifers out there. Thank you for liking and listening and sharing. And I appreciate you, even though some of you don't want to hear that. And I love each and every one of you. Again, walk-ons Tuesday, April 8th, which is also better known as my Freedom Day. I'll tell that story tomorrow. And I will be guest bartending with Kevin Kool-Aid Garrett at Walk-ons in Zachary, Louisiana. All tips will go to LOPA, Louisiana Organ Procurement Agency. Y'all come see us and get your tickets for Real Life, Real Crime, Woody Overton live on stage, July 19th. Got anything else?
Mm-mm.
So with that, I'm Woody Overton.
I'm Cyndi Overton.
Host of True Crime Time for Beer Day. Holla at y'all later. Peace.